Welcome back. This looks like a real public access show today. Like we said, we should make a show about education.
I mean, we kind of did say that.
In a really, really white room with no contrast. So, hey, everybody. Let me give you a little context here. For those of you that don't know who moved, we are in New Mexico. This is the new studio where last week I was recording from sitting on top of a plastic tarp with the laptop on my knee. Thought I was going to have this all done this week, but I got held up. So I went to Kansas State to speak to their education students, which I want to talk about in a second. But on my way home, I get on the airplane. And they're like, it's going to be a minute. One of our engines won't start. And we're all like, what? Be a minute, bro. Like, so then they realize that we're so far in the middle of nowhere that the closest maintenance crew is an hour away. So the guy is like, bro, it's an hour and 45 best that you're going to be here. I'm like, all right. So then it doesn't happen. Then they can't get anyone's luggage off the plane. Everyone that checked their luggage, the door's stuck. So it's this giant, like, debacle there, right? And then I end up staying another whole night in Kansas City with nothing to do when I should have been here setting this stuff up. So I tried to get up this morning and do it right after church, but didn't.
It's at least painted.
It is.
And look, our sign's up. I mean,
and we're sitting here, right? It's the little steps each week that are happening.
That's all you can do.
So look, I would love to answer any of the questions that you have. So if you just drop them in the chat with Q or question before them, just helps us see it faster. And while people are kind of doing that, I want to share two quick things that I learned at the Ed Symposium. So the documentary that I'm in, the reason I went to Kansas State was because the documentary I'm in is called Revive. It is about teacher retention. That debuted this weekend. And then I was on like a panel and then I spoke and stuff like that while I was there. And two things I took away were, I'm thinking of two things specifically from the principal of, I think it's Manhattan High School in Manhattan, Kansas. Who knew? This guy, Dave does something where he does a bragging wagon. And I just thought this was such a cool idea. So it's essentially like you give your teachers a questionnaire at the beginning of the year, you find out all their favorite stuff. Then Dave sees a teacher, bam, you're doing a really great job. So Jenai, we're going to give you a little plastic wagon filled with all your favorite stuff. Diet Coke, Reese's Cups, a stuffed animal, whatever your things are that you love, it's going to be packed filled with them. Then next month at the staff meeting, your job is to find someone else that is doing a great job. And then you gift them with them. Now the school pays for it. Of course, that teacher, you're not required to pay for it, but I just loved that. The other thing is when he became principal, he asked his teachers, what do you want from me? They said, we want to see you more. Administrators are in the office all the time and they don't come out. I want to see you. So my man customized basically like a push desk, like it's like a cart kind of, but his laptop's on it, his coffee's on it, like it's all set up for his stuff. And then he's just in the hallway most of the time, just like moving around, pushing this thing around. and has had an incredible impact on, and even some of his teachers were like, no, it's great because he can pop into your room. He can just say what's up. You talk in the hallway. It's just like, he can pop in and watch your class for a second if you have to go to the bathroom. Like, just like no duh stuff that Dave is doing, but just doing it well and doing it really with his heart. It wasn't just like a thing that he's doing. It's like, it's a really great thing, and it's really kind and from a caring way.
I love it.
So
I love when principals especially like care for their teachers.
yes.
Because teachers are the one that's doing all the real work, like with the students, the hard work.
Thanks. You do all the real work.
In this house, yes.
All right, hit it. What you got, bud?
We don't have any questions
All
yet.
right, someone asked a question. No.
Wait a
So
minute.
that Ed Symposium was so interesting. The other thing that's so fascinating to me always is like talking to students that haven't taught yet. So the other thing I ran into was, did I tell you this? So many of my references were for people that were older than 20. So
You need some new material.
we went out with someone, and
New
Mario
jokes.
Lopez came up in the conversation, and she was like, "Who's that?" Like, wait, what? Saved by the Bell? Like, was he on E? He's like, that guy's not been off television, I don't think,
That is true.
since he's been on television.
Yeah, but he's on like major network like channels, and if people don't watch that kind of content,
Yeah,
especially if you're young,
yeah,
like you stream things and you watch YouTube, like people
I guess.
that
Mario
are
Lopez,
younger
better
don't
step
always.
it up. Get on YouTube,
YouTube.
man. It's like, what now? So yeah, so this week has just been like, well, it's been her trying to get things together in the house because I haven't been here. But man, it felt good to come home last night,
Yes.
make a fire.
I'm glad that you're home because I
Just
really
chill
need
together.
things hung up, and I can't hang anything up. I don't know how to
Got you.
hang
After
anything
this
up.
today,
We really need some
I
stuff
got a
hung
phone.
up.
I got 2 phone calls, but other than that, I'm just hanging
Yes.
things up. Yeah, so that's what's going on. Maisha Hutchins is here today because she's paring down Office Depot, she said.
Yeah, it's a lot during the school year, I would imagine. It's a lot to do. You need just downtime for yourself. And although Office Depot is a different kind of job and creates
Yeah.
downtime, it's like you also need legit downtime.
Yeah.
We do have a little so Maisha said that Mario Lopez hosts the show Extra. Is that what you
Extra.
said?
Yeah, I got the first letter right.
Oh. What did you say? E?
I said E.
Oh yeah, wrong one.
It's pretty close.
Okay, so someone has a YouTube kind of question if you
Do
want
it,
to go with
hit
this one. Pronunciation of the name, I'm not sure, so I'm gonna skip it. But you're asking, hey Reynolds,
First of all, let's explain that because
Yeah.
people that are new and don't know, we are a house of dyslexics, and so if there's too many vowels in there,
I'm not good at decoding.
no, it's horrible, and so it's like, so I apologize. It's not out of like just pure ignorance.
Nitesh, I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Good try.
I'm trying. All right, hey Reynolds, I usually make videos, but I can't get views. So how to deal with that?
I think so the sciencey side of it, right? The algorithm side of it is that there's a couple of things here, right? One, you have to make sure your videos are good and they're worth watching. So watching your analytics and seeing where people drop off is really good. Then trying to slowly increase that amount. So can you have a hook in the beginning, right? It's like just like when we teach kids 5-paragraph essay. Can you have a hook in the beginning? Can you so the game is not to get them to stay even to the end. It's can you get them to stay a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. And you can see all that in your analytics. 2, are you making videos that people want to watch? So this has been an interesting new game for us because it's trying to create stuff. So to me, getting people to watch stuff, the only way I do that is by trying to look and see what people are talking about, see what's going on in education, and speak to that. Because I want to try and help as many people as I can. So that's why we don't make like super niche videos, and I don't teach like how to teach a novel. That might come out at some point as part of like a different program, but not for YouTube. I'm not going to do that. So it's like, are you talking about something that people are actually thinking about, looking about, and wanting to learn about? The other thing is
I think when you're a brand new channel or trying to work to get views or get the algorithm to even notice you, it's consistency and
That's the other thing.
frequency.
Yeah.
It's frequency, like do it every day, post a video, but that's hard, right? It's
so what I
hard
would
to-
say at least is, I would say at least once a week, optimally twice a week. But when are you going to do that?
I think
So
minimum is twice
you
a
have
week.
to look at your analytics and see when are your people online, and start dropping videos when people are online. Not when you think they're online, not when you want them to be online, when they're actually online. So we look at, like, our videos typically drop around 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I drop them at 7:30. So that, I'll tell you what is a really good book to help you out with this. The YouTube Secret Formula by Daryl Eves. Friggin' great. Even if you just listen to a couple of podcasts of him or anything by Sean Cannell from Think Media is really going to help you out with that too.
Yes.
I could go on and on, so I will stop now because I love talking about that stuff.
Yeah, it's been a really fun. We've been doing it for a few years, so it's been really fun to like learn and grow as we've been in this. All right,
what you got, bud?
Carl's up next asking, what's your views on doing a micro teach during an interview? They're not your students, so you don't know how far you can go with the chaos, in my opinion.
So I think, Carl, it's like this. You're not going full tilt. I think of it as like it's like a tasting, right? Like, what do you go to tastings for?
Wine is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, but then Carl's going to get drunk.
Oh, wedding tasting.
No,
like
kidding.
If you're getting married and
yeah.
you want to taste like a caterer.
So like when we had our wedding, we had at the venue, they had a tasting where you get little bits of each thing. So you can get a sense of what the whole thing's going to be like, right? So you're not going full tilt. So like, for instance, the last time I interviewed for a job, I did a lesson on inference. They wanted to do a lesson on inference. So the beginning of it was like, I think I did. How did I do this? Something, I forget the exact thing. It was so long ago. It was like over a decade ago. So, but tied into it was like a little bit of a video where you had to infer what was happening because the video no one said anything in it, right? It was kind of like silent film. Then it was a little bit of charades. And so, or like, like basically charades. So the kids were doing charades. Then it was, so like that was fun because it was like kids getting up out of their seats, acting something out that was funny or cool or silly. And sometimes they had to do it in groups. And then it was like reading a little bit of a story, answering a little bit of questions. So it was like a little bit of other stuff. So the way I get around that is it's telling, man, this tag is driving me up a wall back here. Sorry, the ADD is coming out. The way you get away from that is tell them what they're going to see before the lesson. Tell the teachers that are watching you. Don't like surprise them. Like, here's what you're going to see. And then afterwards, can I tell you before you ask questions, like here is where this would have went. Here's how I would have done this if I had a 50-minute lesson, or if I had a little bit of time yesterday or a little bit of time tomorrow. I wouldn't squish all these things in together. Maybe this is what it would look like. So they can see your thought process, but they're getting to see you, kind of move around the room, how you're interacting with students, how you are looking someone dead in the eye, how you're handling a situation. Like it's this little micro tastings of all these different things that you're going to do. But I'll tell you this, Carl, what I look for when we would interview people, because that was often part of the interview process, is how comfortable does someone seem? How innovative is what they're doing seem? See, a lot of people do a lot of the same things. It's like not trying to do the same thing that someone else is going to do, but not going too far out wild where it's like you're not gonna be able to pull it off a lot of times because the kids don't know you. They're not gonna go there with you all the time because they don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I would do it if I was doing like new job interview type thing.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Jean is up next asking, I can't get two of my classes to keep quiet while I give directions. The relationships with them is growing stronger, but nothing works. One-to-one, interventions, parents, writing up, detention, etc. Help.
So is there a way that you don't have to give directions? Like that you're not saying them? Can they read them? Can they be on the board? Can they be a brief video? Could they be audio that kids have to listen to? So you're just saying it, you're putting it on Google Classroom or whatever, and then you're recording yourself ahead of time. I had a buddy once that used to, Omar Diawar, West Philly, would put up a video of himself saying the directions for the pre-class. So the kids had to listen because he wasn't going to pause it and he wasn't going to rewind it. So the kids had to pay attention. Now, look, if a kid has a processing disorder, they have some sort of auditory issue, something of that nature, of course, you're going to say it again, right? If it's in someone's IEP, but by and large for like the general ed kids, nope. So pay attention. And it took them a couple of days to kind of figure that out because he also timed his pre-classes. So kids didn't have forever to like ask a friend how to do it. What are you doing? What are we doing? What's going on? And that was awesome. That was a great way to do that. I also try and keep my directions short and I give them in short spurts. So it's like, all right, I need you to do this thing now. You have 10 seconds to do this thing. Then, so you're going to take out this folder. You're going to take out this paper. You're going to go to page 2. You're going to answer number 3. So I'm not saying, all right, everybody, listen up real quick. I want you to take out your green folder and you're going to take out the packet from yesterday. You're going to go to page 2 and do number 3. It's too many directions for everyone. But I'm timing them. It's like you have 5 seconds to make this happen like a captain. And then I'm moving on and then I'm not waiting for anyone else. If a kid is really, really out of pocket, I'll put them in the hallway and I will deal with them when I can get out there. But I don't have time to I can redirect a kid, yes. But what I'm talking about when I say put someone out is like, if I've had to talk to you 2 or 3 times and I see that you're just not listening, no matter what I'm doing, then y'all got to go stand in the hallway for a minute so I can get everybody on point. Then I'll go back to you when I'm ready. But I'll tell you, we were using Schoology, which I don't love. Well, apparently we had the oldest version of it. Did you know this? We had all these problems with Schoology because our school refused to get the upgraded version of it. So it had it felt like the beta version.
That is not surprising.
Yeah, not surprising at all. So, and they didn't tell anyone. We didn't know. So there's an option on there though that if you give an assignment, it will also you can record it. So if I have a journal entry, I can have a short explanation. I can read it aloud on there, and that helped a ton because then I didn't have to worry about that stuff. It was cool.
Someone's asking, did I already miss you describing the trip to Manhattan? As an alum, I hope you enjoyed Kansas State and Varsity
Donuts.
Yo, you put an Instagram post up. It looked like a loaf of bread with just bacon on it.
Yeah, it looks like a torpedo roll. So I'll talk about different parts of what I talked about. Loved being at K-State. Loved it around there. Went to some kind of prairie land situation called Kenzo, or you'll know what I'm talking about, Konzo or something like Kanza, and went running there. Beautiful. The wind was so strong, I thought it was going to blow off the hilltop.
I like that you tried to call. He tried to FaceTime me to show me. It's nothing but.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't hear
I kept talking to them anyway. So then went to Varsity Donuts. Awesome. Had the maple bacon donut and the blueberry donut. Went to some other joint that for dinner that has an outside, it's Mexican place. And they had this black bean raspberry dip with cheese on it. Bam. Awesome. And I just thought it was cool around there. They have it's a pretty small main area, but it's really well thought out. It's really well done. It was really cool looking. Loved the school, loved the ed building that I got to speak in. So I spoke in the forum. It's a big meeting, a big stage with all these seats around it. And then I spoke in a really cool room that was there, and that got packed. That we didn't have room for anybody else in the room. I just loved it. I just thought it was an awesome experience in a beautiful campus. So I talked to some superintendents. I might go back and speak at a couple of schools in Kansas, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, so we'll see what happens next.
Awesome.
It was great.
All right, are you ready? Here's a 5-parter from McGregor.
I thought that said MacGyver for a second. And
you wish it
I
said
got
MacGyver.
so excited. It's cool. We're still excited that you're here, McGregor.
Okay.
Hit it.
I am now in my 6th year of teaching, and so far it feels like it has been my most difficult. The behavior of my classes have been poor, and I've been trying my best to manage it. Oops, out of order. But this week I had a teaching assistant tell me my behavior management is poor and students don't like my subject because of this. I also had a student say they hate me repeatedly. I know I shouldn't take these personally, but it affected me more than I thought it would. I thought by now I would be better at teaching, but I'm feeling really discouraged and my confidence has been shaken. I know behavior management has never been my strength and I'm always working on it, but these comments have hit my insecurities. How do you manage negative comments without feeling discouraged?
This is a wonderful question because I'm going to tell you what, my 6th year of teaching was the worst year I ever had in the classroom. That's when I switched from Camden, New Jersey to West Philly. And I got a room full of the football team and the basketball team.
Oh, I remember this.
And I can't, I don't want to lessen what you're saying, but I wish a kid had told me they hate me because
well, you had a kid say something else to you, which you can't even
way
say.
Out of pocket. I'm not going to say it. YouTube will strike me down. It was chaos. I asked for all the help. I had people people will come in and they're like, I don't know. I don't even know what you do with this. I was in the basement in a room with no windows. It was horrible. I think in those moments, it's not just about your pedagogy. It's not just about you doing the right thing. It's who do you need to become to do that thing, right? So like, it's not, I could tell you to count backwards from 5. I could tell you to give detentions and call home and write things up and change how your lessons are and stuff like that. I think some of it is, this becomes a part where it's not about the outer work anymore. It's about the inner work. I would seriously consider looking into some sort of counseling or therapy. This is real talk right now, right? This is not an answer people always want to hear because they just want like, well, no, how do I just make it better in my classroom? And it's not, you got to make you better because we need to be fortified so that we can go into the classroom and do the work. And when we're not, when what the kids are saying is hurting, and that's fine, right? It does hurt. It does bother me, right? Like, I like to say that my joy doesn't come from my students and it's not taken away. But there are days when I'm feeling less than already and someone says something and it hurts. It hits me. Then there's days, but I'll tell you this, when I feel great and there's not one thing anybody can say it's going to bring me down because I'm feeling on fire that day. And so I'm feeling like I have it to go back. So what has helped me is building me. And the way that I have found to do that is through some sort of, it's either been for me through spiritual development, like getting a spiritual director or going to therapy. Now, the beautiful thing of education is that usually the benefits are so good that you're not going to pay a lot for therapy. And you can now, since COVID, I mean, you can just go online and do it like on an online platform. You don't even have to go anywhere. You can just do it from your house. But I would seriously look into that because that's going to help you to be stronger, because whether we like it or not, a lot of times classroom management comes down to where are we at? Like, do I feel confident? Do I feel good about myself? Do I know I'm in my purpose? Do I know I'm doing the right thing? Do I know that this is the work that I've been given to do? And we can know that, but man, can we feel it? And when we feel it, then you go into school on some different type time where someone saying something, doing something, like you're not going like this. Oh, not again, man. Oh gosh, why do they have to do this? This is so aggravating. There's a difference between having a conversation with your class and going, dang, why every day do we even have to go through all this instead of going, listen, y'all, I got a question. Stop talking. Because every day this happens, and I'm seriously curious as to why we can't get through a lesson, because it's not like, I want this to be great, but it's not. We need to have some real conversation around what this could look like and how we're going to get there. 2, if you read the script, it can look very similar. It's how are you delivering the script? So that would be my honest piece of advice for you in that. So,
But I think that's just good general life advice, right?
Facts.
There's a million hard things that we have to do that really, really like damage us, right? Or that it's very hard for us. It knocks us down, and it's not about I can't do this. It's like, no, there's growing that needs to happen to be able to do those things. And we speak that I even speak that, and you speak it from personal experience. Like,
absolutely.
You have to be able to handle those things, and the way to handle them is to rise, to grow and develop yourself. And that's not a fun answer to hear. That's not an easy answer to give, but like, it's really truth. It's not just for educators. It's for just seasons of life and where we are developmentally.
And that's such real rap, babe, because it's also preventative, right? It's not waiting till it happens. So like I have on my to-do list for a while now. So like now we're in New Mexico. I want to get back into therapy once things kind of get situated, but I have on my to-do list to get couples therapy. Not because like not because you're horrible all the time. That it's like preventative stuff so that it doesn't ever dip, right? Like I don't work out right now because I'm training for something. It is preventative. And so that's what I would do. That and you know what? That goes to like getting some level of like help in your classroom too, maybe from someone that's not in your room, right? So like signing up for a mentoring package with someone or something of that nature too could be something that's really helpful as well, because sometimes you need someone who's not so zoomed into your situation. They're a step outside of it. So
John Lopez had a great comment. He said, the student who hates you is trying to find ways to stir you up. It is also a cry for attention. And that's true too. But you can't see that if that's one of those developmental growing pieces.
Yeah.
As you develop and grow, you understand that like, okay, this is a child still, and they might be hurting from whatever their situation is. But it takes the ability to like.
What the Godfather John Lopez is saying there too is like, you hear something different. You're not hearing, I hate you. You're hearing, oh, there's something going on with you, right? So it doesn't even hit you.
But that takes a level of development, personal development, to be able to get to even do that, right? Like that's that stuff.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, Mr. Boland is up next asking, what are some things to refill your energy level during the winter that are affordable?
Alcohol? No, I'm just kidding. No, no, I've largely stopped the consumption of alcohol. And
I'm going to say, Mr. Bowen, while you're thinking, it's friends. It's a gathering with people, right? Connection is something that we all need as humans. And I think anytime that you can connect with people, whether it's, you don't even have to do a dinner party, because dinner parties can kind of get expensive and it's a lot of work. And
can I interrupt you with that real quick?
Sure.
Because I want to ask you about you. Would you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert?
I'm a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'm extroverted, but then it takes me a while to fill back up. Like I need a level of like.
Keep going, because I was just curious. I'd never asked you that in 20,000 years.
That's not true. Yes, you have. But I think that connection is one of the best ways to fill us up. So even if like having people over for dinner is like it's costly, right? To do that, I understand the price of groceries, but you can have people come over and go, let's do dessert. Or let's, have coffee in the morning if you can do like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning or something like that. There are small ways, or let's do board games and have a popcorn and pretzels and, a few things. You can home make something or something of that nature. But I think anything that you can do that revolves around family and connection with friends and people is the best way and the most affordable to like lift spirits. It's every single time when I just made the kids The other night, my sister called and she was like, "You want to come over and do a game night?" And it was like kind of late already. And we've been kind of like, it's exhausting. A lot of like decision-making fatigue, right? Of like, where to put all this stuff. And it's like a million new things. And we were kind of tired. And I was like, no, kids, we're going to go, because the connection with family is, one, it's why we're here. And two, it's also, I know what that does and how that lifts your spirit.
You never regret it.
No, and we didn't. We went, played a game, that was it.
Yeah, I think, and then for me, it's things like going to the gym anyway. It's, I'm super mindful of like the kind of movies, the kind of TV shows that I watch. It's like, especially with all that's on the news right now, it is being mindful to take breaks from a lot of that stuff. And so even when I'm watching a movie, like we were watching Bullet Train last night, and I have to be mindful to not be on my phone when I'm consuming something else, right? Like I'm watching this for a reason. Like it's funny, it's goofy, it's like it's a great movie, and I wanted that to sort of like infiltrate me on some level, right? But things like, even when I don't want to, I know the gym helps. I know it. And for me, I could start seeing that, like, I know drinking doesn't help, right? So like I am feeling less than in the morning because I had a couple drinks last night. It's starting to just notice those things about you, and things like, do you need to go to the doctor? Do you need to get a checkup and make sure that like your vitamin D level is there? And if it's not, like start taking some vitamin D. Like it's looking at some of that stuff too. So those are all things. But man, the friend connection is so important to me. The reason I was asking about that was because I wasn't sure if that would work as well for introverts, because I'm so extroverted that it's like, I just want to be around all the people all the time. But I don't know if that.
I think it's a gentle balance for people.
Sure.
And I think, but it's usually not a bad answer. Like when you're trying to lift spirits, right? We're humans, all humans want connection, whether you're introvert or extroverted. But it's a balance for if you are introverted.
I was going to make a joke there, but I couldn't.
I don't think so.
No.
All right, let's move on.
Go ahead.
Joe is up next asking, what are your thoughts? This is a good question. What are your thoughts on swearing in the classroom to relate to students? Is this something you find inappropriate or okay to do?
So, Joe, this is an interesting question.
It's a nuance.
My short answer is no, do not swear in front of students. One, and then I'm going to tell you that I've sworn in front of students, and I'm going to tell you why. So this is your mom telling you not to smoke, but then she smokes. So here's the gig. I think that swearing in public has become it's just like everyone does it. Like there's like not a motivational speaker that you listen to that doesn't want to like F it up all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether it's Gary Vee, whether it's Tony Robbins, it's like, it's just so commonplace now. It's kind of like this. I saw this on TikTok the other day. This guy was saying, man, you used to see someone with a neck tattoo when I was a kid, and you'd think someone's getting murdered. And then he goes, now you see someone with a neck tattoo and you're going, man, I'm about to get a great latte. And so it's just become so commonplace. And I think the problem with that is I don't want my students to even grow up and think that that's professional, that that's okay, that this is like, we just walk through life and I'm going to get a job at a marketing firm and I can curse. I could be a realtor and just start cursing. It's like, I think there is a level, Malcolm X used to talk about that, it's lazy. It's the absence of vocabulary and you're just inputting all these kind of lazy words. Mm-hmm. There's something to that. I'm not going to go into all that right now. So by and large, I don't think it's a good idea. And I don't think it's a good idea because you don't know where all kids come from, right? We're assuming when we curse in class that all students come from families that just curse. Just because your students curse all the time, they come from families that curse all the time. And that's not true. Some families, some students do not curse. And like, I know my daughter, it has an whenever I curse, she is just like,
she tells us
she
both.
says something to us.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like it.
It's being mindful of that. Now, I will say, I have had instances where I have a senior and they're on par to not graduate. They're on par to they're in the streets getting in trouble. I know what they're up to when they're not in school. Even freshmen, that their life is like a flaming dumpster fire. And I have found in the past that if I do swear, that it is, I'm doing it, I'm not just off the cuff and I'm like cursing at someone, but it is something that is that I'm using it intentionally, and I'm using it for dramatic effect. And I can tell you that those times that I did it, I mean, real rap, like it had the impact that I wanted it to have, because kids saw it. And I know this because they told me about it. Later, they said that was the realest conversation I've ever had with an adult in my life. And so, but I'm going to tell you that it is not something I can condone. It's not something I can tell people to do, because it's such a nuanced thing. You either got to feel it in the moment and know that this is what I'm doing on purpose. But as a rule of thumb, I would say no. And if I could even figure out a better way to do it than those couple of times I've had to do it with students, then I wouldn't curse. I'm trying not to just curse in general anymore.
Yes, it's actually a new thing that we're
my daughter told me that people don't curse in New Mexico. So
all right. Mary Dunn.
I also want to get a saddle for my living room too. So
oh goodness.
Yeah. Man, that's a big question. Look, your face is all blocked out. So
I know.
Hit it. What's up, Mary Dunn?
She's on Facebook asking, and I think there's a ... I don't know if it's somewhere else. Okay, let's give it a whirl. This is my second year of teaching. My school is a mentorship program that is supposed to last for the first 2 years. My mentor, who has been so great, involved, invested, encouraging, she's completely checked out this year. We were collaborating on lessons and working as a team. And this year, he has left me to my own devices. This totally blindsided me, and lesson planning feels like my weakest part. I have brought some lessons from TPT that have been okay. They are not going as well as I would have. How do you get to the rest of that?
Scroll down. See if there's another one.
I don't think so. I wonder on Facebook if you can see it.
Okay, so while you're looking that up, Mary, I would say that, first of all, what a great idea for a program, and to have it last 2 years. And I'm so glad that it went so well for you. I would ask them about it. I know that's awkward. I know it's weird. I truly believe that to some degree our lives and in all things, we are successful to the degree at which we are willing to have uncomfortable conversations. So when a lifelong, wonderful marriage, learn to have uncomfortable conversations. Want to have great relationships with your kids, learn to have uncomfortable conversations. So I think that's part of it, is like asking and seeing where they're at. Like, are they all right? How's their life going? Are they doing okay? Because I think that's something that we should be going back and forth with, because maybe they're having a hard year. If they are having a hard year, would your school assign you to someone else? Is there somebody else that you could pick that you like? Could you sign up for something online? Could you hire somebody? Like what are the other options there? But especially when you're seeing that you need it, you're seeing where you are. Now, look, I'm going to tell you this. If your mentor had said on the front end that they were going to, like, all right, I'm going to give you a little more room this year. I want you to take a little bit more time for yourself. I want you to try and do this on your own. That's different. But to just drop the ball out of nowhere seems weird. So I'm wondering if something's going on with that.
So here's the second half.
Please.
She said, so they're not going as well as I would have liked, but I'm finding the juggle of all of my teaching responsibilities, plus being a wife and mom of 3 kids.
Yeah.
I don't have the time and space to put together the great lessons I would like to. I still find it is challenging, and I still haven't mastered the ability to break down the information well enough and simple enough. I've asked for help from the instructional coaches, but that has been a hit and miss. How long does it take to really start to master the formula for great lessons, and any tips of how to put together a great lesson?
So for me, it was 3 years. The third year felt better. End of third year felt like beginning my 4th year felt great. 5th year felt the best. And then, like I said, then I switched school 6th year, and then it was a train wreck. You're also, here's the other thing, Mary, is that you're going to start living off your reputation. If you do really great work, the students will know who you are before they come into your classroom. And your old students will come back to your classroom and tell these students how great you are and how much they loved you, even kids that didn't do well in your class. And that's a whole nother weird thing. So I think the other piece of this is a bit more counterintuitive, because I would tell you that only work so hard on this, that it is that piece we were talking about of like pouring into yourself and pouring into your kids. It took me a while to learn this, and which is unfortunate because I can't have that time back. That I learned that I didn't want to pour into other people's kids more than my own kids. I know it's my assignment. I know God gave me this job to do, but I know God gave me 2 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, they have to be first. My hierarchy of things is connection to God, right? Then it's me, not my wife, not my kids, which is hard for me because that's not who I'm not wired that way regularly. So then it's me, then it's my wife, then it's my kids, because I benefit from the overflow of my connection to God. My wife benefits from the overflow of my love for myself, because I'm feeling great. So now I can love you in a way that like you want. And I'm not needy and all that crap. So, but then my kids benefit from the overflow of love that so when we're like all like in love and like getting, and things are well, my kids just benefit. My kids will tell you when it's not like, when it's not going good, they'll be like, ooh, can we come out?
They're not benefiting from that.
Oh yeah, should we just make our own dinner tonight? So it's doing that. Then it's my students. They're 5th on the list. And that can be hard because we want to do really good work and we're really excited about it. Doesn't mean you're like, I'm still with other people's kids far more hours of the day as a teacher than I am with my own kids, right? It's not about giving time. It's about what am I there when I'm there? Are my feet where I'm planting them? So how do you do better lesson planning? I think some of it is you can order that stuff from TPT, but how can you sprinkle some magic on it? How can you use your creativity on it? And that is a muscle that gets exercised over time. I'm going to recommend get Dave Burgess's book, Teach Like a Pirate. It's friggin' great, and it'll help you figure some of that out. He's a master at sprinkling magic on stuff, and it's a really short book too. Like you'll be through. It's like a weekend read, but it will also inspire you to do a lot of that stuff. And then it's being dedicated with your time. So I'm lesson planning from this time to this time, and I'm intentional. I am focused. I'm doing nothing else. And that will help you to plan better as well, because you're not trying to do 7 other things. And I put grades and lesson planning over everything. Well, I mean, relationships first, of course, but then it's like planning lessons and then grading. Everything else is second. Everything else the school asks me to do is second or third or fourth or fifth to that. And that's a whole nother conversation, because that becomes like how can you do that? But that's not what you're asking right now. So,
and I would say that I just knowing you and knowing the things that you've talked about for years is you're really good at taking complicated things and breaking them down into simple forms. That's like one of your gifts, but it's also, you are big on listening to your students and like having your ear out to what they're into and trying to connect that to your lessons, because then builds that engagement piece.
in the interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which will
it's
just help.
So, I mean, Mary, sometimes the question that we have to ask ourselves, because teachers like to make things really complicated because it looks better. People are like, oh, what's this you're doing? Look at this whole situation on your wall. Like, this is how the kids are learning this. It's, if the kids had to know this in this amount of time, what is a way? How could I ensure they know it? What is the best way for me to take this and help them to perform this task, understand this concept? Like that should be the basis of everything. So it's like literally sitting there and going, all right, the Great Depression, parts of a cell, Pythagorean theorem, one of my favorites, dangling participles. What is if I had to get kids to understand or be able to do this, how do I get them to perform on a level of excellence? And there's a really great there's this guy, Tom Bilyeu, who has a company called Impact Theory, a podcast called Impact Theory, that says no BS, what would it take? So this is what all right, I have to be able to do this, no BS, what would it take? Figuring out what that is and then executing with that, and knowing that simple is better. Like
Yeah.
I've often wanted to write it. One of my book ideas is the Minimalist Teacher, and I'm not even a minimalist, but like,
but you are in your teaching. I will
yeah.
tell you,
Oh,
you
facts.
are not one of those teachers that like overcomplicates and like confuses and inflates.
I can
things,
appreciate that stuff.
Yeah,
but I can also appreciate.
I think it's harder to do it in a more simplified manner.
I can also appreciate bands like Yes, but that's not who I'm drawn to necessarily. I like simple. Just makes life better.
Oh, Maisha, that's so sweet. She says, hey, don't forget to mention your book as well. Your book isn't a slack read either.
No. Wait, hold on. My book. Are you talking about
Yeah, I remember that comment.
Talking about Teach Your Class Off?
Go back to comments.
The Real Rap Guide to Teaching? Sorry.
Hide.
Oh gosh, I'm really doing a great wife. Now we're lost.
No, we're not lost. There you go. That's how you do it. I don't know how you get back now.
No, that's the part we're lost on. All right,
hide.
And we're back. Welcome
go.
back, everyone, to the show.
Look, you tried to get fancy. It got us all.
I did. Because you are the only one with the computer this week, because my computer's over there. And
oh,
I can't
no, now
really
you lost my...
use it right now.
Where I was.
Well, I can sing a song while you're...
No, don't do that. I remember the question. It was John Lopez. He was up next. He asked, did we find here it is. Did we find a favorite restaurant?
Oh, we did. And I forgot to send it to him because I forgot what your mom said.
No, but I asked my sister Kayla, who was like, no, this is the most authentic place, in which she went and got lunch from the other day and brought it here and ate it. And I was like,
oh, all right.
That's where we need to go. So we'll text you what it is, because I don't even know how to say it. So you know it must be good.
Yes.
Okay. Let's find our next question.
Thanks, Lopez. I appreciate that, man.
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Jeff Noon is up next asking, what do you do when reaching out to families for student engagement and learning? There is no support, love, caring at home to even inspire a student. Behavior and disengagement mirror life beyond. That's a great question.
So one, Jeff, if I reach out to home and I realize that is not somewhere that is like, I'm going to get answers, I just stop reaching out to home. Unless there's a behavioral issue and I'm like, know that I want to reach out just for documentation purposes. One of the things I think students don't really realize is that it takes a single person to change the trajectory of their family's lineage forever. And so when I look at my family, now, so I'll break it down like this. So like my great grandfather went through World War I, came back a very damaged individual. It was very, very like was a mean man, right? Worked at Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, was a mean dude by all accounts. I've never heard a nice story about him ever, which meant that my grandfather then became a very mean man also, which meant that has trickled down through my family. My mom had it tough. Her siblings had it tough. But my aunt the youngest in that family, they have a wonderful life. They just like didn't embody that stuff. They made a conscious decision to shift. They have her and her husband and my uncle have a very successful business. They have 4 kids that couldn't get along any better. All their grandkids, all like they just have a wonderful, wonderful life. And so we have come up in some pretty like
we have colorful backgrounds.
We have
they
very,
are not
very
very
colorful.
simple stories.
Yeah. And we're not talking about pretty colorful here. It's not like the rainbow. This is it's like gets muddy. We have made a conscious decision though how we want to get along, because our parents didn't get along like we do. We didn't get along like our kids do. Our parents didn't get along with us like we get along with our kids, right? And so it's like making that decision. And so what kids have to understand, and what I try to impart on young people, is that are you just gonna like, y'all know where you come from? And I'm not saying one way or another. I'm not judging your parents. I'm not saying anything about the situation. I'm just saying out loud, do you all want to come from what you come from, or do you want something different? Is there a better that you want? And if so, you need to know that you have the power to do that. You have the power to be the one that changes it, because there's always a person that, because like, I don't know what life was like before my great grandfather, but, and maybe that would be an interesting thing to hear, but like, I just know that everything after him was chaos, but everything after me will not be. My kids will not grow up like that. My kids will not be like we have crazy stories in our family of people being like stabbed by a fork because you reached across the table. Someone didn't like coming in the house and getting pushed down the basement steps, right? Like a family friend, like crazy stuff. My kids don't know anything about them. I've never hit my kids ever. And that is not easy, right? Having conversations takes a lot longer. Is so much easier to just smack a kid, I think. And so are we going there right now? Yes. But it's helping your students to understand, what do you want in your life? And then you can make that choice, right? So it doesn't matter where you came from, right? Those are contributing factors, right? Let me break this down for you. They are contributing factors. They are not always determining factors. And so I have those conversations with students all the time, because it's like, who do you want to be for your brothers and sisters that are coming after you? Who do you want for your little niece and nephew? Do you want to have a baller little apartment right as soon as you get out of college and you're making some money and you can have all their favorite snacks and stuff like that, and you can take them to the barbershop to get a real haircut, not a kitchen cut from mom in the kitchen? Like, what do you want to be able to provide for the people after you? You have that power. And it wasn't your fault that you're in the situation that you're in, but it is your responsibility to get yourself out of it. And so that is a conversation I have with students all the time about things like that.
Yikes, I wasn't paying attention on here.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, yeah. And
cool.
Rain. I'm a middle school social studies teacher, and I'm burned out now because of all the extra things to do. 504s, data entry, covering other classes during my planning, etc. How can I balance my mental health on this?
So, look, I'm going to tell you what. Sometimes I only know how to do stuff because of the way I did it, right? Like, so my last year in my school, there were so many people quitting that I would sometimes cover 8 classes a week. So that's sometimes like 2 or more a day. And I only had 2 periods off in a lunch or something like that. So it was like all your time is taken up. You can't teach class when you're dealing with that stuff. Then then they put all these new things on us. So there's a couple of things that I did. One, I would go to meetings and I would ask, when we'd have staff meetings, I'd say, I'm interested in how Here's what my week looks like. And this is, you have to do this without an ounce of sarcasm, which is hard for me, but you do it. I'm curious, how would you balance all of these tasks and still teach at a level that is excellence if you were in my shoes? And then make them give you an answer. They will try to go around it. They'll try and talk about, they'll try and get out of answering the question. But I'm asking administration, the people that are putting the tasks on your list, I'm curious how you would do this. And so, because the answer is there is not a way to do it. So then I would get assigned classes in the morning. They would send me a thing. And I got to the point where I told them, you have one coverage a week. The fact that these classes are not filled, that teachers are not here, that you do not have people to cover them is not my problem. It is not in my contract. I will no longer cover more than one class. And then when I get the email in the morning on the second day about the next class I was doing, I'd say, there must be a mistake. I covered a class yesterday. That is my quota for the week, and I will no longer be covering classes for the entirety of the rest of the week, barring an absolute emergency. Like, so someone like has a heart attack, I got you. But it was letting people know what I wouldn't be doing. When I tell you that they didn't know what to do with that, like, no one knows what to do with that, because no teacher is going to do that. No teacher is going to stand up in a meeting, ask the question, and go, yeah, but wait, you're not answering my question. I need to know, like, if we can even have a meeting after this, I'm more than happy to do that. Like, I don't want to take up everyone's time, but I think we need to start having some conversations around what are we expecting of teachers and how are we expecting them to get all the things done? Because it doesn't seem like the amount of tasks given fit into we're trying to fit this much stuff into a suitcase that's this big. It doesn't really work. And so let's start having some of those conversations. I think some of this, to be really, really honest with you, is administration struggling to figure out ways also. They know that teachers are just going to keep doing it. And unless someone says this doesn't work, they're not going to, or to be honest with you, unless a lot of teachers do this, because what my biggest gripe last year in my last year of school, and this is not just my last year, this is years previous, is everyone complains about this. Teachers complain about the situation ahead of time, before the meeting. They complain about it after the meeting. But when I bring it up in the meeting and I go, y'all know that, like, we were just talking about this, everyone's silent. No one wants to say anything about it. And that is so aggravating to me, because it's like, you can't be part of the solution unless you're willing to have an uncomfortable conversation and put yourself out there. And not in a mean way, not in an angry way, not in a sarcastic way, in a way where you're entering with pure curiosity and really looking for a way to do the job the best you can, to be as helpful, to be as much a part of the school as possible, but without being overburdened and overwhelmed. Just because admin is overburdened and overwhelmed is not my problem. I don't hire, I don't create culture, I don't make, my job is making sure kids are seen, cared for, taught, and are given the opportunity to reach excellence in what we're doing. The end. And so that's where my time and space would go to. So it's to cutting out the other stuff. But I would have a real conversation with your admin about, like, what this is actually going to look like, or getting together with some of those other teachers that are having a problem too, and going together to admin and letting admin know in the front end, look, this isn't like a coup. We're not trying to, like, come in here and throw this off and, like, be 5 against 1. We're just trying to help each other to do the best work that we can do. So let's begin having that conversation.
And again, to balance your mental health stuff, like,
Yes.
You can do that in the school, but then at home, you have to fill yourself back up.
Yes.
So it's filling yourself up with things that that fill yourself up, whether it's time alone, reading books, family and friends.
And let those be little things.
Dinner with them, being a family dinner around the table with your kids, like all the little things. They're not little things. They're actually big things and matter, and fill you back up so you can go in tomorrow and do the job. Because I know that that's what we had to do, like, with serious intention in the last few years of school for you. Yeah. Always, but really, really intentional the last few years.
And none of them were huge. It was little things that was like, oh, that was nice going on a date. Like maybe we should go on a date like every Friday. And then we started doing that. And it was like, Fridays were awesome because I looked forward to my date every Friday night.
Yeah.
Eating dinner with the kids. It was like, why don't we watch a show or a movie while we eat dinner? Because my son eats in lightning speed and is done like a classic teenager. So like last night when we even just made popcorn and watched Ahsoka and made a fire, I was like sitting there. I'm like, this is as good as it gets. This is perfect, man. Or when we were over your sister's and just hanging out, like it's like when you do a thing and you notice, I feel good. I feel better.
Make a rhythm.
That is, oh, I need to make a note and make this a part of my rhythm of the week or of the month or of the day to keep dipping into this goodness because it's going to help me handle all things better.
Yeah. Okay. KP is asking, I have a 16-year-old student who is pregnant. I want to show compassion by letting her rest when she's tired or not feeling well, but other students see it as me letting her slack off. Advice?
That's a great question. So I would say it's constantly having a conversation with young people about fair isn't equal. And that, guess what? Like, let's real rap right now. Those kids don't know how tired this young woman's going to be when she has a baby. Because there's no tired like new teacher or I'll say new parent tired is even worse than new teacher tired, really, for real. It is all encompassing. It is never ending, and you will never sleep again the same way. Well, actually, you went back to sleeping like you used to, but I never slept the same again.
That's because, okay, no, that's a whole
this
rabbit.
Is my show right now. All right, so I think it's having constant conversations with young people and knowing that, look, leaders are repeaters. We have to repeat ourselves oftentimes, and that's okay. You have to get okay with that. But it's having those conversations with kids about, like we're trying to act with compassion. We're trying to care for each other. And y'all don't understand that I'm trying to do that with you as well. Maybe looking out for kids that are complaining a lot and letting them know how you are caring for them in their own way, how you're doing something for them in their own way so that they see it, because not everyone always sees the good deed. Sometimes you got to tell kids the thing you're doing so that they see it. And something we talk about all the time. I talk about in my book too, but like, it's this idea of, I'll tell you where I got this idea from my wife when she used to, when you would constantly say, when I started, I think student teaching, you're like, we don't ever spend time together. So when we started spending time together, I had to say, like, not in a crappy way, right? But in like a nice way of like, I just want to note that we're spending time together right now.
See?
And
we're spending time right now.
So,
like, oh,
yes.
Okay.
So it's like, it's noting those things. And yeah. And then some of it, look, they could be cranky teenagers if they want to, but if you're caring for someone, like I do that with kids that like I know are going through all kinds of stuff. Someone will come in and be like, Reynolds, can I just lay on the couch today? It's like, yeah, I give all students, like if they're really going through something, everyone gets a day or two during the year where you can lay on the couch, you can put your head down because look, your mom was screaming at you this morning. You got fired from your job. Your girlfriend broke up with you and cheated on the guy that's in the next class. Like, I get it. It's like life gets real sometimes. And so it's creating that space for kids, but letting them know when you're doing it sometimes so that they can just recognize it. And then it doesn't become so crazy when you do it for someone else.
All right. I know we're about over time, but I want to ask this one question because we got started a little.
Please.
Teaching with Mr. Hayes is asking, I teach mainly 15, 16-year-olds, and the apathy is a major zapper. I make things engaging, sometimes met with resistance, but I keep pushing and eventually they board the train and are enjoying it. Any tips to ease the resistance early on?
Oh gosh, I'm going to sound like a broken record. These are things I have conversations about. One, it's understanding that who you're teaching.
I was going to say they're teenagers, right? So some of it's that.
When I was just saying this today. Everything I ask my son to do is met with this first. Oh.
Every single thing.
So this morning he goes, I asked him to go out front and sweep in front of the door. This is after he was able to watch television for hours this morning. Then his mom made him breakfast burrito, like delicious breakfast burrito, right? In his heated house, like all the things, right? I go, hey, bro, when you're done that show, I need you to go outside and just sweep in front of the door, and I need you to shovel out the fireplace outside. You would have thought that I asked him to walk 100 miles. He go, oh. And when I feel good, it doesn't bother me. When I don't feel good, it makes me incredibly aggravated because I don't understand. You asked for a fire, like I asked you to do. So he goes, what am I, your servant? Bro, I swear. So it really comes down to me being the best me that I can so that those things don't bother me. The other thing is having a conversation. Listen, gang, can we just talk about this? Like, I know you're teenagers. I know that UGG is the answer to most things anyone asks you to do. But like, school, can we recognize how utterly boring school is? That largely school sucks. I'm trying to just be the least sucky class of the day. So when I'm coming in and I'm trying to get after it, and I'm met with, ugh, right? It is like, why am I even doing this? Why don't I just make this class suck also? So that's having that conversation. I think the third thing you can do is change the kids you're looking at. I think we often are waiting for that sound. We're waiting to hear that child. We're waiting for that moment, right? And instead, there are kids in your class that maybe you're not noticing, maybe you're not looking at, maybe that are getting excited, maybe that if you focused on them, it would be a little bit better. Focusing on those kids and not looking at all the kids that think class sucks, that think school sucks, that hate everything. It's like, well, this isn't for you anyway. This wasn't for you to begin with. It's starting to create lessons, thinking about, for me, it's thinking about the Marleys, right? So my daughter comes home from school last year and she goes, the teacher was trying to do something awesome and I was excited and everyone else is just being a butt in class. And then we end up not doing the fun thing. And I thought, man, how often have I done that as an educator? How often have I shut down the project, shut down the fun thing, shut down the movie because some kids were being problematic instead of hyper focusing on the kids that were not being problematic, focusing on, I need to make this great for them. And Rafe Esquith has a whole book on this called Teach Like Your Hair is on Fire. That's really good and speaks to this idea, but it's changing your focus. It's changing your mindset and starting to look at those kids instead of just focusing on the other kids. Because a lot of times it's not that many. It's not even the majority of students that are being problematic. So it's go into school tomorrow and start noting, like I rate kids on sometimes I'm like, all right, how many kids are actually being a pain in my butt right now? And then noting them. How many kids are only being a pain in my butt because we have the real high flyer, like the kids that are creating culture in the class, and these kids go along with that. Could I sway them over to the other side? So I'm not looking at these one, two, or three kids. I'm looking at these kids that I could sway and these kids that'll definitely get down. How do I make that the majority? So now now it's weird that you're not engaging. How do I do that? And when I give talks, I talk about this idea, this whole concept of you can't lead a horse to water and make it drink, but you can make it thirsty. So how do we make it so that the majority is doing the good work and then the minority is like, now you made it weird. Now it's weird that you're not doing this. So, yeah.
I just want to say Maisha made a really great point in the comments. She said, if your question didn't get answered, be sure that you are a part of our Facebook group because that is, where'd it go? How come it's not on there? Oh,
there it is.
Delay.
Yes. Facebook group. Completely free. It's only for educators.
Yep. And it's got you'll get a lot of great answers when you have a question in there.
Yep. So just make sure you answer the 3 questions when you go in there. And look, if there's anything else that you need, you can go right to realrapwithreynolds.com to get it from us. If you're looking for mentoring, if you're looking for my book, if you're looking for someone to speak and do professional development at your school, please let me know. And that's the best place to kind of get in touch with us. Yep. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Do you want me to do the thing?
Oh, yeah. I didn't take that thing off.
That's all right. Because I wanted to make it, I'm trying to be effortless in my flow here. Like this. Gang. We'll see you next week. Peace.